My ex lied about having cancer to keep me paying her bills, so I exposed everything publicly and walked away without saying another word. I'm a 29-year-old guy, and I've always been the kind of person who'd rather struggle myself than watch someone I love suffer. Maybe that's why when I met Emily, I fell so hard for her. She had this fragile kind of beauty, like someone who'd been through too much, but was still trying to smile anyway. I remember the first night we talked. She told me about her rough childhood, how her mom abandoned her, how every relationship before me ended in betrayal. I didn't see red flags back then, just pain I wanted to heal. Over time, our lives became completely intertwined. She'd call me her safe place, her calm in the chaos. And hearing that felt like a purpose. When she lost her job, I didn't even hesitate to cover her rent. When her car broke down, I drained my savings to fix it. She always promised she'd pay me back when things got better, but I never cared. Love to me wasn't about keeping score, it was about showing up. There were nights when she'd cry out of nowhere. Sometimes she'd apologize for being too broken, and I'd whisper, "You're not broken. You just need someone who won't leave." I meant it. I really believed I could be that someone. Then, one evening, everything shifted. She came home pale and shaking, holding a crumpled paper in her hand. Her voice trembled as she said, "I didn't want to tell you. I just found out I have cancer." For a moment, everything froze. The air, the sound, even my heartbeat. I remember my hands going numb as she cried into my chest. My mind was already racing. How could I help her? What could I do? Because walking away wasn't even an option. Not for me. Not for her. But that night, I had no idea I'd just stepped into the biggest lie of my life. When Emily told me she had cancer, I didn't think I acted. The next morning, I called off work just to sit by her side. She kept insisting she didn't want me to see her like this. Now she wanted to handle it privately, but I refused to leave her alone. She finally agreed to let me drive her to what she called her first chemo consultation. Though she asked me to wait outside the hospital, she said she didn't want me to see her cry. I remember sitting in the car watching people come and go, counting every minute until she came out, pale, exhausted, and trembling. I believed every second of it. That night, she told me the doctor confirmed she'd need months of treatment. I remember her whispering, "I can't afford this. I don't even have insurance." My chest tightened instantly. Without hesitation, I said, "Then I'll handle it." "We'll handle it," she cried harder, hugging me like I'd just saved her life. From that day forward, everything in my life revolved around her illness. I picked up extra shifts at work, sold my gaming console, and even borrowed from my emergency savings. Every night, I'd hold her hand as she lay on the couch, saying things like, "If I don't make it, promise me you'll find happiness again." And every time, I'd hush her, telling her she would make it because I truly believed love could fight anything, even cancer. But something never quite added up. She never mentioned her doctor's name. Her treatment days always seemed to change last minute, and sometimes, when I offered to go with her, she'd get emotional, saying, "Please don't make this harder for me." I brushed it off, telling myself that people cope with illness differently. I had no reason to doubt her. At least, not yet. Over the next few weeks, Emily's treatment became the center of our world. She'd spend hours resting on the couch, claiming the chemo left her dizzy and nauseous. I'd make her soup, run errands, clean the apartment, anything to make her comfortable. Every night I'd tell myself, she's fighting for her life. You can't complain about being tired, but slowly, something inside me started to ache in a different way. The emotional weight wasn't just heavy, it was suffocating. Whenever I asked simple questions, like which hospital she went to or whether I could talk to her doctor, she'd shut down completely. Her voice would break as she'd say, "I told you I don't want to be a burden. Please don't push me." I'd instantly feel guilty, apologizing for even asking. Money became tight fast. My credit card bills stacked up from her medication deliveries and special diets. When I'd get overwhelmed, she'd turn it back on me, her eyes filling with tears. "You're making me feel like my illness is an inconvenience," she'd whisper. That line crushed me every time. I'd end up hugging her, saying, "I'm sorry, I don't want to lose you." Even my friends started noticing the toll. One night, My buddy Eric pulled me aside and said, "Man, she doesn't look sick. Are you sure this is real?" I snapped at him. "You think she'd lie about cancer? What's wrong with you?" I stormed off, ashamed of even entertaining the thought. Still, late at night, when she'd fall asleep next to me, perfectly peaceful, her skin glowing, her hair untouched, I couldn't help but wonder, if she was really sick, why did she look so fine? But then she'd stir, whispering, "Thank you for staying." And just like that, my doubts would dissolve. At least, until the next strange thing happened. It started with the bills. I'd been paying them blindly, trusting every word she said. But one evening while sorting receipts, I noticed something odd. The hospital invoice she gave me didn't have her full name. It said E. Walters. Her last name was Anderson. When I asked about it, she froze, then broke into tears almost instantly. "I use my mother's last name for privacy," she stammered, her voice shaking. "I can't have everyone knowing about my diagnosis." That guilt washed over me again. I hated myself for even questioning her. But deep down, something didn't feel right. A few days later, I tried looking up the hospital she claimed to visit. The website looked off. No patient portal, no listed oncology department. When I asked her to send me her doctor's number so I could coordinate her next appointment, she got defensive. "Why are you suddenly trying to control everything?" she snapped. "Can't you just trust me?" I remember standing there, feeling small and ashamed, apologizing even though my gut screamed at me that something was wrong. "I just want to help," I told her quietly. She sighed, softened, then hugged me tight. "I'm sorry. I just hate feeling like a patient all the time." That night, she texted me that she was being admitted for an emergency treatment and needed money right away. No warning, no paperwork, just urgency and desperation. I wired her everything I had left in my account. She promised she'd call when she was settled, but she didn't. Not that night. Not the next day either. When she finally texted back 2 days later, her message read, "They had to keep me longer than expected. I'm too weak to talk." I wanted to believe her. I really did. But something about that message, the phrasing, the timing, it didn't sound like her. And for the first time, I felt fear instead of sympathy. 2 weeks passed before Emily finally came home. She looked perfectly fine, not weak, not pale, not anything like someone who'd just spent days in a hospital. I told myself she must be having a good day, but that uneasy feeling wouldn't go away. I tried asking gentle questions like, "Did they change your meds?" Or, "Can I talk to your doctor about aftercare?" She just smiled faintly and said, "Babe, please. I just want to forget hospitals for a while." I let it go, but that night, while scrolling through social media, a message popped up from a woman I didn't recognize. "Hey, I don't know if this is weird, but are you dating Emily Anderson?" My stomach dropped. The woman introduced herself as a former classmate of Emily's. She said she'd seen my posts about Emily's illness and thought, I should know something. I remember her words exactly. "She's done this before." She explained that Emily had once faked a medical condition to get money and sympathy from an ex-boyfriend in college. Said she used almost the same story: mysterious hospital visits, vague doctors, emotional manipulation. I wanted to believe it was some mistake, maybe even jealousy or spite. But then the woman sent screenshots, old Facebook posts where Emily bragged in private messages about living rent-free off pity. My chest tightened so hard I thought I'd be sick. I stared at those messages for hours, scrolling through every word. Every laughing emoji Emily had used while mocking someone's concern, but still, I couldn't accept it. Not yet. I needed to see something undeniable, so I decided to dig deeper. I told the woman I appreciated her warning and logged off, pretending everything was normal. Asterisk that night, as Emily slept beside me, I stared at her peaceful face and whispered to myself, if she's lying, I'll find out. The next morning, I woke up with a pit in my stomach. For the first time, I looked at Emily not as my girlfriend, but as a stranger I needed to understand. While she was in the shower, I quietly opened her laptop. It wasn't locked. My hands were shaking as I searched her email for hospital confirmations, billing statements, anything. Nothing came up. No appointments, No invoices, no correspondence from any doctor. Just online orders clothes, jewelry, spa bookings. Thousands of dollars spent while I was working double shifts to save her life. That's when I decided to get the truth directly from the source. Pretending to be her brother, I called the hospital she claimed to visit. I gave them her name, date of birth, even the fake patient ID she'd written on one of her receipts. The nurse on the line was polite but firm. "I'm sorry, sir, but we have no record of any patient by that name." For a second, I thought I misheard her. I repeated Emily's name, even her middle initial. The nurse double-checked and said again, "There's no one here with that name, and no oncology department in this facility." My entire body went cold. My heart pounded so hard I could barely breathe. All the late nights, the tears, the money, it all flashed through my head like a cruel montage. I hung up the phone and sat in silence, the weight of reality crushing me. Emily hadn't just lied. She'd built an entire world of manipulation around me. When she came out of the shower, humming softly, I looked at her differently at the ease in her movements. The sparkle in her eyes, the absolute lack of pain. She smiled, kissed me on the cheek, and asked, "What's wrong?" I forced a smile back. "Nothing," I said, because right then I knew. Yelling wouldn't change anything. She needed to be exposed. And I was going to make sure everyone saw who she really was. From that day on, every moment around Emily felt like acting in a play I no longer believed in. I pretended to be the same loving boyfriend, cooking her meals, driving her to appointments, even tucking her in when she claimed to feel dizzy. But inside, every smile I gave her was a lie, a mask covering the fury building inside me. I was done being her victim. I just needed proof, undeniable, concrete proof that would expose her for good. I started small. While she slept, I placed a small voice recorder in the living room, where she usually made her doctor calls. The next day, I sat in my car listening to the playback. My stomach twisted when I heard her laughing with a friend, saying he actually believes it. I told him I needed money for another round of chemo. Guess who's paying for my weekend trip? I felt something inside me snap, but I didn't confront her. Not yet. I started collecting everything, screenshots of her bank transactions, photos of luxury purchases, even voice clips where she slipped and contradicted her own timeline. Every piece of evidence became another nail in the coffin of her lie. Then one evening, she came home carrying shopping bags, expensive ones, claiming her coworker gifted them. She noticed me staring and chuckled nervously. "Don't look at me like that, it's just retail therapy," she said. I nodded, biting back the truth burning in my throat. "You deserve it," I murmured, pretending to sound supportive. That night, I sat alone at my computer, staring at a folder titled Proof. It was overflowing. Photos, screenshots, recordings, everything. I needed to destroy her illusion. But as I stared at the evidence, one question haunted me. Was I ready to become the villain in her story, to finally end being the fool in mine? The night I decided to expose her, everything felt eerily calm. Emily was in the kitchen humming while scrolling through her phone, completely unaware that her little empire of lies was about to collapse. I sat in the living room, staring at my laptop, heart pounding as I organized every file, the fake medical forms, the voice recordings, the transaction screenshots, and those smug text messages. Each piece of evidence told a story she'd tried to bury. I started with a single post, long, detailed, and painfully honest. I didn't name-call, didn't rage. I just laid out the facts. Her fake diagnosis, the money transfers, the fabricated receipts, even the call logs proving she'd never been to the hospital. I included screenshots and clips, everything time-stamped. The title was simple: The Woman Who Lied About Having Cancer. When I hit post, my hands trembled. For a second, I wanted to take it back. But within minutes, notifications exploded. Comments poured in disbelief, anger, disgust. People recognized her. Someone even replied she pulled the same stunt on my cousin 2 years ago. Within hours, it went viral. Her friends started unfollowing her, mutual acquaintances messaged me in shock, and her social media pages began to vanish one by one. By evening, She was calling nonstop to 12 missed calls, 9 voicemails, all begging, crying, demanding I take it down. Then came the knock on my door. I opened it to find her standing there, mascara streaked, hands shaking, eyes wide with panic. "How could you do this to me?" she sobbed. "You ruined my life." I looked at her for a long moment, silent, letting her words hang in the air. She wanted control, guilt, pity, the same weapons she'd always used. But they didn't work anymore, because for the first time, she wasn't the victim in the story. She was the story. She stood on my doorstep, shaking, mascara bleeding into black rivers. "You ruined my life," she cried, voice cracking, hands clutching at the air like she was drowning. I didn't move. I just stared at her, the person who'd drained my savings, my sanity, and my faith in love. Her tears no longer moved me, they disgusted me. I was sick. She screamed. "I only lied because I was scared." That sentence hung between us like smoke. I finally said quietly, "You weren't scared, Emily. You were comfortable." She broke down, collapsing onto my porch, sobbing into her hands. "I just needed you to stay," she choked. "Everyone leaves when things get hard. I thought if you felt sorry for me, you wouldn't go." For a second, just when I almost felt pity. She looked so small, so broken. But then I remembered the nights I went hungry so she could eat. The extra hours I worked while she shopped online. The fake hospital calls I believed because I loved her. I stepped closer. "Do you have any idea what you did to me?" My voice shook, not with anger, but exhaustion. "You made me question every good part of myself." She whispered, "I didn't mean for it to go that far," but I could tell she did. Every word, every tear, every touch, it had all been calculated. I looked down at her one last time and said, "You killed something in me that was real." Then I turned and walked back inside, leaving her sobbing in the dark. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat on the floor of my empty apartment, surrounded by the ghosts of every lie I'd believed. For the first time, I didn't feel angry, just hollow. Because when the person you love most betrays you completely, you don't just lose them, you lose the version of yourself that believed love was safe. The fallout was instant and brutal. By morning, the post had reached local community groups, and people who once called Emily a fighter were now calling her a fraud. Screenshots of her fake hospital forms were everywhere. Even her own family issued a statement online, distancing themselves from her. I thought I'd feel vindicated, but instead, there was just silence inside me. My phone kept buzzing with mixed messages. Some people congratulated me for exposing her. Others said I went too far. "You didn't have to ruin her life," one message read. Another said, "That girl needs help, not humiliation." I stared at those words for a long time. Maybe they were right. But then again, so was I. At work, I couldn't focus. Every corner of my mind was filled with her voice, crying, begging, manipulating. My coworkers whispered about the viral post, not realizing it was my story. I kept my head down, pretending to be fine, but my hand still trembled whenever her name came up. Emily texted again that night. "I lost my job. Everyone hates me. Please, just talk to me. I never wanted this." I almost replied, but something inside me stopped. Every time I pictured her face, I saw the years she stole from me, the emotional blackmail, the guilt, the lies. I realized she wasn't sorry because she hurt me. She was sorry because she got caught. Still, I couldn't shake the guilt. I wasn't sure if what I did was revenge or justice. Maybe both. Maybe neither. That night, I deleted all the evidence, the screenshots, the recordings, everything. It was over. I didn't need proof anymore. But as I watched those files disappear, I couldn't help but wonder, if exposing her ended the lie, why did I still feel trapped inside it? Weeks passed and the noise finally began to fade. The viral post got buried under new scandals, new distractions. Emily's name still surfaced occasionally in online threads, but her social accounts were gone, and her number still saved in my phone, stayed silent for days at a time. Then one morning, I woke up to a simple text. "I'm getting help. I'm sorry." Didn't reply. Not because I hated her anymore, but because I had nothing left to say. I'd spent months living in a fog of anger, pity, and exhaustion. Now, I just wanted peace. I deleted her message, then her contact, then her photos. But even after the phone was clean, her voice lingered in my mind, the soft tone she used when she lied. The fake fragility that made me feel needed. I moved to a smaller apartment across town, one that didn't echo with memories. No hospital excuses, no fake chemo schedules taped to the fridge. Just silence. Real silence. I started working out again, seeing old friends, laughing without feeling like I owed anyone my time. For the first time in years, my life was mine. Still, sometimes late at night, I'd catch myself replaying her confession. I just wanted you to stay. It haunted me not because of what she said, but because part of me understood it. I used to think love meant saving people, even from themselves. Now I knew love without boundaries isn't love at all, it's surrender. Every time her name came to mind, I take a deep breath and remind myself, I already answered her. My silence was my answer, because forgiveness doesn't always sound like I accept your apology. Sometimes it sounds like never responding again. It's been almost a year since everything happened, and I've stopped counting the days. The anger, the sadness, the guilt, they don't hit like they used to. They come in faint echoes now, reminders of a life I finally walked away from. I don't check her name online anymore. I don't wonder where she is or who she's with. Some people think closure comes from confrontation, but mine came from silence. Looking back, I don't regret exposing her. I regret how long I let myself live in her illusion. I used to think being loyal meant sacrificing yourself for someone else's happiness. But loyalty without truth isn't love, it's self-destruction. Emily taught me that in the hardest way possible. Sometimes, when I see couples laughing together, I feel a flicker of something bittersweet hope mixed with fear. I know I'll love again, but next time I'll listen when something feels off. I'll question instead of rescue. I'll protect my peace the way I once protected her lies. A few weeks ago, I got another anonymous message. She's in therapy now. Trying to start over? I didn't reply. Not out of spite, just acceptance. Her story isn't my responsibility anymore. The last time I walked past the hospital, she pretended to visit. I stopped for a moment and smiled. Not because I was happy about what happened, but because I finally understood something. Closure doesn't always come with apologies or revenge. Sometimes, it's just the quiet relief of realizing you don't owe anyone your pain anymore. I turned away, hands in my pockets, the city noise rising around me. For the first time in years, I felt light. Not victorious, not angry, just free, because the loudest revenge isn't shouting, or exposing, or proving someone wrong. It's walking away and never looking back.